Hello, I'm Nigel Parslow. I'm the Managing Director of Harvey Nash Executive Search Business here in the UK. Harvey Nash is a PLC. Within that we've got 4 revenue streams. An IT business where we recruit low level to very senior level, both permanent and contract. An interim management business with impact executives that recruits senior level managers for short-term assignments. An offshore software development business which also does outsourcing and executive search. I am Managing Director of the Executive Search. We operate in the Senior Executive and Board Director appointments across industry, and we're part of an international executive search business that operates from Poland across to Seattle in terms of all full connection. Your CV is the most important aspect of that recruitment process. If you have a poor CV, you don't get to base 1. A CV is only used for one reason and one reason only, and that is to get you the interview. From there on, it may be a document that's passed around an organisation in terms of using it for assessment and stakeholder engagement, but the CV is the most important document in your application for a new role. We are a recruitment consultancy acting on behalf of the client. They discuss with us their requirements, the background to the appointment, the business needs, the culture. We operate against their brief. Within our selection of people for interview, we operate very strictly to that brief, but we'll always add a few other candidates that are a little bit left field to be generous and perhaps help the client evolve their final selection in terms of who they may interview and ultimately appoint. Furthermore, within a candidate profile, there is a degree of risk aversion now in recruiting people for the UK. If you go back a few years, there was a view that a candidate could go into a role, learn the role and move on from that perspective. Now clients are looking for a situation where they can reduce the risk to a minimum. That means that they are looking for people to do a particular job and not extend beyond that particular job in the first instance. The first impressions do count, and with a professional recruiter, the first impressions are an indication, and we probably spend the rest of the interview either ignoring them or looking for questions to prove what our initial impressions were or disprove them. Generally, in a candidate, we're looking for a good, clean, precise and accurate response to questions. We're looking for engagement, and we're looking for experience that shows the candidate both has the cultural fit in a particular organisation and the experience to fulfil the requirements of the job. It is a very pragmatic, systematic and practical approach to assessment. This is very much in the consultancy basis. If you go back to base 1, which is taking a brief, understanding the remit from the client, and generally even within a well-evolved client there'll be some level of uncertainty about candidates. We then go out and find the candidates we interview, and probably interview about 10 for a particular shortlist of maybe 4 or 5. The next stage is a shortlist meeting. This is where we discuss the entire assignment, the candidates we've interviewed and the candidates we recommend to shortlist. That final determination in terms of who goes forward to meet the client is very much around that meeting and the interaction and the challenge of those candidates we've discussed with the client. Ultimately, it's the client that decides who goes forward. When we discuss the role with the client and take the brief, we usually identify what is the perfect candidate, and that becomes the model beyond which we look for other candidates. If in our recruitment process we identify a candidate whose experience is absolutely what the client's looking for, and then when we meet them, we intuitively believe that they will get on well with that particular client and that particular recruiting manager, then clearly we feel that there's the red hot candidate that is likely to be appointed. Top tips: think about the type of role that you want to apply for. A good example is if you've been a finance director and you're now an MD and you've only had that a short term, think about whether you want a role to return to finance or to be an MD. Once you've determined the type of roles, then determine the type of industries and work out a sales plan that you wish to work in those sort of organisations. So think about the next job and then write the CV against that next job. Systematically go through all those organisations, all those third-party consultancies, and ensure you've got full coverage on the recruitment industry and the opportunities that are out there. Typically, the Harvey Nash, who's positioned about 7th in the UK in terms of volume of recruitment, only has 2 to 3% of the market share. You can see it's hugely fragmented. Therefore, you've got to ensure you're fully covered. Use your network, use your recruitment consultancy mates and your previous employers. Get yourself a great CV. The CV has got to paint a picture of success, promotion within organisations, achievement, but also give the context of each job so that a reader can judge whether you can take that experience into his particular organisation. Punctuality, taking interest, follow up is very important. When you go to an interview, if you do know who the organisation is that is likely to employ you, spend some time researching that information. There's so much information around. Investigate who's on the board, where the successes have been, and something around the organisation. Once you've got to the interview, be expansive as needs be to answer your person's questions, but also be reasonably succinct. Make sure that your dialogue is interesting, informative, and once again, answer the question that's in front of you. Those are the top tips.